please welcome her to the stage.
Thank you. Hello. Right, let me just set myself up. Got my notes on my laptop. So, well, hi everyone. I'm just absolutely gobsmacked, really. What an amazing conference. I can't believe this. It's phenomenal, really. The speakers, the last one was amazing, the one before was amazing, the one before that was amazing, and the one before that. I've learnt so much already, and I'd like to put my hands together for the team that put it together, and Tina for making it happen. Thank you so much. I hope it happens again. Well done, honestly. Really, hats off. So, remember this wall. This is a very interesting slide. It will come up a bit later on. We'll talk about it more in depth. But what I'd like to do today is introduce you to a project that I was involved in this May for 3 months before, which was the Marrakesh Biennale. And what we did was bring some street art to the Marrakesh Biennale. And just background, it was set up in 2004 by Vanessa Branson. She's no longer running it. It's now gone its own. It's become its own entity. And it's in its 12th year this year. So the objective was always to integrate cultures, different ideologies together. And it was a cultural festival that would address social issues through the arts, using them as a vehicle for debate, discussion, to build bridges between diverse ideologies. So I thought that was really interesting. I really enjoyed the idea of that, and I wanted to get involved. And the difference actually from this Biennale than any other Biennale is that, possibly maybe the only one, that the artists have to come to the location and create something from scratch. So they create an artwork based on the context. So it sort of underlines, again, the principles of the Biennale. Integration is the main vehicle. So the focus of my talk is about what happened during this project and how it all worked out. So, like Vanessa, she felt the need to start a dialogue through art. And for me, I wanted to get involved because it's also at the moment we are experiencing political instability, even more so, I think, than in 2004. It's become very apparent, it's very real. And I honestly don't believe people are really bad and you know, the Islam and all these different political things that we're supposed to be experiencing. I don't believe people instinctively are bad. I think everybody's good. And I want to know, really, from my own perspective, what's going on in that country. Is it all really that bad? So let me tell you, so the Biennale is really about the public art. So they want to bring more art into the public realm and introduce other people to it. So let me tell you a little bit about where I come from. So my background is valuation and auctioning of fine art in Chattels. I studied that at university. And then I was very lucky to get a job at one of the big auction houses in London. So I started working there. It was the most amazing thing. I was very lucky to be working there. I know a lot of people want to be in that auction house. But my experience was really mixed. I thought, okay, this is like a conveyor belt of loads of art. You know, the element of creativity sort of becomes secondary, and the most important thing is the price tag. I know that in the previous talk we talked about business being important, and it is, it's very important. But the other part of it was a bit confusing. So it just became kind of detached from my initial idea what the art market was going to be. So I started to edge towards this idea that I'm working in basically a market selling commodities. And the same question kept stumbling in my mind. Where do we actually live? How does it all work? And where is culture born from? And at the time I was surrounded by lots of artists and talking about things, talking about current topics. And I kind of felt like there was no this tangible thing. It needs to happen right now, that somebody needs to be commenting it. Waiting for a museum to do a show just felt a little bit, I don't know, stale somehow. So I started getting involved in making art more accessible and bringing it outside of the gallery walls. So the project that you see on the slide here is actually something that we did a year ago, or no, actually for 2012 Olympics, and it was fine art sales. And what you could see there is a collaborative project with the Olympic sailing team. And what you see there are sails, and two of those sails have little stars on them. I think the Giulianopi one and the Benin one have little stars, and those are the sails that were actually sailed at Beijing Olympics and won gold. That's how you get the star on there. So it suddenly becomes this really cool interactive play, and again, the audiences that you reach are completely different. They're not the ones that normally would be going to a museum. The sailors, the audiences that go to Cowes Week or London Boat Show are slightly different audiences that would go to an art fair. So in the next slide, I show you the people who were actually involved with it. And you have Pippa Wilson, who won an MBE, I think. Well, she got an MBE. She won the gold. Andrew Bart Simpson, who's now passed away, believe it or not, and he was sailing in America and died tragically because he was competing. And out of that came a new charity promoting sailing, which is quite amazing. Out of a tragedy, he evolved, his memory evolved, his legacy evolved and became even bigger. So our project kind of fitted into this, and the Pam Glue sail ended up going for auction to raise money for that charity. Ian Percy, who's currently sailing, still winning. This is really great little project that we did, and it's now kind of running its course. The Croydon project that we're running right now is about bringing public art again, and it's just sort of starting. And I had a slide in here that would have showed you Benin mural and Darkmaster mural and a couple of other murals that we've done already. So we have the going back to the Biennale. So in the Biennale we have the public art, and so I was thinking about what does public art really mean, and reading lots of different books, and they said that apparently public art can be site-specific, stand in contrast to its surrounding. What distinguishes it is the unique association of how it is made, where it is, and what it means. And the main bit is that public art can express community values, enhance environment, transform a landscape, brighten our awareness, or question our assumptions placed in public sites. This art is there for everybody. It's a form of collective community expression. So, as you see in that picture, I think that kind of is a good image. Oh, you can't see it. There you go. This is a boat built by an artist for the Marrakesh Biennale 5th edition, 2014, and it's in the desert, and you can see tiny little dots of people trying to come and have a look at it, which I think is a really great interactive piece, and it kind of talks about the desert and the ship sailing through it, which links you immediately to the Sahara. So after I started working with ideas of public art, I realized that it's a little bit shrouded in a lot of paperwork. Has anyone ever applied for a grant or to be part of a Biennale? It's just like massive CV, long document. You spend like 3 or 4 months preparing for it, and then you don't get selected, and the money isn't really great. I just felt like somehow I just sort of missed the boat a little bit. Sorry for the pun. So I thought, okay, well, how can we make art a little bit more fun and immediate? You know, how does it work? And then, of course, you know what I'm going to say. I stumbled across street art. And, you know, the street art, kind of, I came across it a few years ago, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, not at the very beginning when it became a new thing. But for me, I really liked it. I liked the fact that it would happen without permission, and it was sort of easy in that sense. Maybe it was illegal, but in some cases actually I thought it was brilliant. So it allowed creativity to live its own course, and it's become a big phenomenon. Some people would say it's the biggest movement since the Impressionists, and I think I agree on that part. So it made me think that I would like to work more with street art, and the meaning of street art is quite amazing, because a lot of people would tell you that it stemmed from the graffiti. And I did a project in LA where we brought graffiti artists to battle out against some street artists, and I realized then that it was a very complicated movement, and the street artists are totally different from graffiti artists, and you shouldn't mix the two. But I don't make the decision who's better or who's worse. I like all of them, and if the quality is there, if the fun is there, if the integrity is there, I'm all up for it. So this is the wall that we talked about earlier, and Well, we didn't talk about it, but we're going to talk about it now. So, what do you see? You could see a great little scooter, a really cool dude, perhaps you want to be like him when you grow up, beautiful blue sky, or a fantastic blank wall to paint something on. So when I went to Marrakesh, that is what I saw. I saw millions and millions of little houses, big houses, different things, all completely clear of any art or any installations or anything like this. And I thought, this is quite amazing. I want to put some art on this. A bit arrogant, I know, but you know, why not? So I was surprised. I started thinking about this. I was surprised. How can international cities such as Morocco, or a country such as Morocco, be so removed from any of this kind of worldly art that we see on the streets? And I looked into Moroccan culture. Moroccan culture really at the moment is very rich. You have the film festival that has been going for many years. You've got the biggest solar power station being built right now in the world. I don't know if you know about this. This phase 2 is huge. They're going to do the COP22, which is the climate change conference, which happened in Paris controversially last year. It's happening this November in Marrakesh. So you see a lot of these sort of new things being developed. Then you have the history of Morocco, where you had it was part of a French colony, so most people speak French fluently. This is almost a second language to Arabic. In the 1950s and 60s, famous writers and musicians used to come there. Even the Beckhams just renewed their vows there, the wedding vows. So it's really contemporary, really fun place to be. And what most people don't know is that the oldest university in the world is actually in Morocco. So they are very interested in education. They're very interested in culture. They're very interested in all of these things. And I think this one was founded by a woman. So it's pretty impressive. And then my personal experience, and that's me next to a camel and surfing. You've got the sea, the sun, and the surf, and the camel ride if you want to go for a camel ride. And so you have all of this going on. It's really fun. So why are the walls so bare? You know, what's going on there? So after realizing that I need to go spend more time in Morocco, King Mohammed is loved by the people of Morocco. And he's a young progressive leader. And if you go to a little cafe, you will see immediately that there will be some kind of a photograph of him, the king, either getting married or going somewhere to congratulate somebody. He's very prominent in Morocco, and he forbade for his favorite city, which is called the Red City of Marrakesh, to be embellished in any way whatsoever. So he wanted the red walls. So okay, so that's problem number one. And the problem number two, of course, we've got Islam, and Islam is a sacred, beautiful, it's a religion obviously, but art in Islam, Islamic art, is sacred. So you are painting really to pass on the message of God, and in this case, any figurative art is considered to be selfish and indulgent. So you are encouraged to paint patterns, so only God can create, and you are just passing on the message. So we had all these amazing things that are going against the idea of putting some art on the walls, and I don't even know how we got away with it. So these are my three questions. How to bring street art to the walls of Marrakesh for the first time, how to respect the local tradition of Islam in the artworks, and how to get everybody and the locals to understand and get interested in this brand new phenomenon. And do we have any spray paint? And there wasn't any spray paint. So we had to figure out how to get paint and all sorts of different things. So what did we do? We broke a record. We painted the biggest mural in North Africa. So that's the thing that we did in January. You could see it from a drone film, which was also illegal in Morocco. We had to get the equivalent of CIA to sign off on this. This was really difficult. And it didn't seem to me that it was going to be difficult until I saw this file, like this thick, on me, with all the background research that they've done on me when I was picking up the piece of paper to say it's okay to give it to the police. So this mural was painted by Giacomo Buffarini-Run, and it was in the moment where we had the migration crisis. So everybody was talking about migration crisis. People were dying, crossing the sea. And this mural, I can't believe it. We were allowed to paint this image. And this image shows two people sitting across borders And one is communicating with the other one, and the other one is listening. So that was the idea, and it felt very, very current. And of course, it took off on the media. Lots of people started talking about it. And the difference between this mural just talking about this concept and it being relevant to the local people was the fact that they allowed us to do it. But second is that the mural is located on a square where you have Gnawa Festival of Folk Music. And the small instrument that one of the figures is playing is a local instrument known as Gumbri, sorry. And so the mural kind of depicts that you can communicate through borders, through music, and it's a universal language. It's a very positive thing. And then 3 months later, there was going to be a festival on this, and the mural would disappear naturally in the sun, sea, sand, and it will wash away. So it's a very temporary thing, and it's no longer there, so you can't see it anymore. So this is what we did. We ended up having a split festival. So the festival runs for 3 months. It starts in February. We did our mural in Essaouira a month before just to launch the project, get as much information out there as possible so people buy tickets, come to Marrakesh. And then we did most of the project in Marrakesh, starting from February, 2 weeks. Lucy was painting. There's a few artists that were here yesterday that were painting with us in Marrakesh. And we did a weekend in focus in Essaouira, which is this mural was painted by Callum Moore, a local artist, street artist. And he's actually a multi-dimensional artist. He's a video artist, he's a technical artist, he's a painter on the streets, he's a musician. So he does lots of different things. He participates in lots of festivals, and it was really great for him to depict this image of a person weaving dreams. And in the background, you can see a small minaret, and this is actually on the wall. It's just the way the photographer, who's Ian Cox, amazing photographer, took the photograph. So it just fits in with this chimney finishing off the picture. I thought that was a really great idea. I'm just going to show you some slides of the murals that we ended up doing. And what happened here was that when we did the big mural in Essaouira, we thought, this is going to be easy in Marrakesh. Oh, no, not at all. Almost on the day when all the artists arrived, we got a message from the security, and they pulled the plug on the whole project. So we tried not to tell the artists because we thought we'd fix the problem over 24 hours. And I think a big bribe was paid somewhere along the lines. I have no idea, but everything happened. The Biennale happened. Everything happened. It was like it was a little bit tricky at some point. This is in Essaouira. So what we did in Essaouira as well, it's not just focusing on Marrakesh, but just because of this picture I'm going to show you. We also held a workshop with the local university students. So one of the elements that we wanted to achieve was obviously to allow for street art to be on the streets, but for most of the art to be abstract, but we also wanted to have some kind of integration with the artists and the local community. And what I've learned is that a lot of students that are going to university, they are Western thinking, they've got, well, at least they're pro-West thinking, they have phones, they have internet access, they have a lot of these different things. And they are interested in what's going on in the world of an artist. If it's even a possibility, you could become an artist and grow into an artist as a career move. So this was an opportunity for people to discuss different facets of being an artist, being a creative person. And this is Lucy's mural in one of the central squares in the Medina. And this was probably the hardest place for us to paint anything, because this is obviously the tourist center. The Medina is where you have a lot of markets and people selling things. The Moroccans generally who live there still live in the traditional way. They don't have, high sky-rise buildings. This is the old Medina where traditions are very present. So for us to be able to paint murals, abstract murals, wasn't the easiest thing to convince people to allow us to do. But what's interesting is that at the end of the project, we were supposed to cover all the murals and bring the walls back to normal. I even had to sign a few agreements to say I'm going to paint them nice and salmon pink. They're going to be back to normal at the end of the project. None of the shop owners said to us that they would like to remove the murals. They want to keep them there because it's brought so much attention to them. Not only do they enjoy the art, but they also have a lot of internet. People found out through the internet that this is there. Then they will come there, especially to see the murals, and of course they do a bit of shopping in between all of that. I think Sickboy was probably one of our most controversial artists. He his style is very graffiti, and I think one of the things that was not allowed to do was do proper graffiti like this, but he toned it down, believe it or not. This is his version of toned down. So we still didn't have any problems. It was fine. So so what was our aim? Did we achieve what we've set out to do? I think so. I have to say, I can't believe we did it. The Biennale is unbelievably grateful, and we are grateful to them. What they did was actually allow us to be present there, and they spoke to the king on our behalf, and the king said yes. So that was one thing that they did, and it was incredibly great to have that level of support. But I got that impression from most people. It was quite amazing. The level of tolerance, the level of openness, like here today, in fact, the level of let's try and see what happens. It was just unbelievable. The feeling that I got was incredible, and I really think, I can't stress enough that working in Morocco, having the limitation of the language, I don't speak French, I don't speak Arabic, shame on me, but I've got a little app, I'm learning. But I don't know how we managed it, but we did it with sign language, good team, but everybody was helping us from one person to another. You'll see a list here of people. This is not even the whole list of people that were involved. I was writing this list because we produced a documentary about the project, which I wanted to show today, but we will do a proper premiere at the Regent's Park Cinema later in the year. And this is a list of credits that I wanted to put on there, and I think it's actually another page of this. So, you know, a lot of people were helping us, even if they didn't understand what was going on. The love was felt. It was incredible. It was fantastic. So would I do it again? In a heartbeat. I would love to do it again. I think we would like to do it next to Biennale, maybe do more different interactive artworks and see how it works. The other element I think I forgot to mention was the effect the street art had on the locals and how far and further the project ended up traveling as a result of this, because most of the project for the Biennale was happening within the walls of museums, even though it was open to the public, even though the entrance fee was waived. The kind of people that go to museums are a certain type of audiences that you don't necessarily you want to reach, but they're already interested. So what we wanted to do with the street art program was to engage people that might not always go to a museum or might not consider going to a museum. And we did that in abundance. It was incredibly successful from that perspective, because the Moroccans always, if you spoke on the street to people, the Moroccans felt that they don't really understand what this kind of Biennale is. I mean, what does it all mean? How does it work? The strange thing is in the museum. Whereas with street art, they got to speak to the artist, they got to see the artwork, and they got really excited about it. So from that perspective, I think this is the benefit of our project, and this is the reason why it was really important to make it happen. So yeah, so that's it really. Thank you so much for listening. And